Okay, this is going to be a quick tutorial on capturing 3D recordings in Acadicus. So in order to do this, first thing you're going to need is Acadicus Studio. So there's two different versions of Acadicus. There's regular Acadicus and there's Acadicus Studio. The only difference between them is Acadicus Studio includes the 3D recording feature. So this is important if you don't want your instructors to be capturing 3D recordings for any reason. Everybody should be using Acadicus. But if you want to capture 3D recordings, then make sure you're using Acadicus Studio. They both can be installed at the same time on the same computer, and you'll want to make sure you launch Acadicus Studio to capture 3D recordings. You'll also want to be logged in using an administrator account. So if you don't already have one, you'll want to send us an email, info@acadicus.com, and we'll make sure to get you set up with an admin account with your Acadicus Pro subscription. And you'll be entering into your room in Acadicus. So you also have a 4-digit passcode that's been assigned as part of your Acadicus Pro subscription. So make sure you're logged in using your admin username and password, and then it's typed exactly as it is, with capital. It's going to be case sensitive, and make sure you enter that and then come into your room in Acadicus. So with that done, you should come in, and if you're going to capture this tutorial is going to be capturing 3D recording in VR mode. You can also capture 3D recordings from non-VR mode. Sometimes that's easier. If you've got someone helping you, they can be in non-VR mode, and they can be in ghost mode as well, so that they don't show up in the recording, and they can actually manage the recording process if that's easier. But this tutorial is going to be covering 3D recordings in VR mode. All right, so you've logged in as an administrator, so you see this menu appear before you when you first put on your headset. If for whatever reason that menu doesn't appear, or if it's like out of your view, if you press and hold the flat button, the Oculus Home button. Oops, I get an Oculus, a reward for my home. Wonderful. So if I press and hold that Oculus Home button, it pops right back into view. And even if I happen to have like menus torn off, and I'm like, I've got a menu over here, and it's just I forget what I'm working on, and I want to recenter everything, I just once again press and hold that Oculus Home button, and it all pops back into place. Okay, so we're going to go into, if you don't already know, I guess I'll just kind of give a brief tutorial on moving the menu. You can point at these buttons and use your grip button on the handle of the controller by your middle finger. You can tell you're pressing the right button when your hand does that in VR. But you can just point at these buttons, press and hold, and now you've got it, and you can put it wherever you want it. While you're holding it like this, if you use your joystick, you can move the menu farther away, or closer. And you can also, by using your joystick. So if I'm pushing up on the joystick, it's going away. If I push down on the joystick, it's coming closer. And similarly, if I push my joystick left, I can make it smaller. If I push my joystick right, I can make it bigger. So I'm going to put this right down here. And I'm going to use the top trigger now to actually press the button. So again, lower trigger at any point is going to be able to grab that menu and move it around. The front trigger is what you're going to use to open the various tools. All right, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of my list here. I've got a lot of 3D recordings in this scene, but I clicked on my recorder in order to see the scene recorder. But before we do this, we're actually going to go into our scenes menu. And this is a really important step, because when you capture a 3D recording, the recording isn't going to capture any information about the scene that you're in, or the assets or objects that you have in your scene. All it knows is it's going to be looking for what it's interacting with during the 3D recording. And if that's not present when you play the recording back, for example, if I create a recording using this asset that we have here, and then I delete that asset and I create a different scene, but I play that 3D recording, the actual motions of the 3D recording will be captured, but it won't be relevant to the asset because it's just not there. So you want to make sure that your recording is associated with a scene. So what I'm going to be doing is capturing it in a scene that I'm going to call I recording. So I'm going to type that in here, and I should just back up for 1 second. I went into my scenes menu, and I was in the I scene. I just click on that text, and then I added recording, and I hit submit, and now I'm going to hit save, and then save to verify. Now my I recording scene is currently open, and I just saved that. If I want to find that, I can go to my library, and I can scroll down to scroll. You can actually select these and then just kind of move your arm or your hand up and down. I'm going to go to I recording, and just to make sure, I'm going to load the scene. Cool. So we have our I recording scene, and this is where I'm going to be capturing the 3D recordings relevant to this. So if I capture a recording, I'm going to want to make sure that I load this scene when I play that recording, and we can do that with a holocron, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. So now that I've got my scene saved, I'm going to go into my library. I loaded that scene, so I'm currently in the I recording scene. I'm going to go to the recording tab. Now, what I like to do is tear the recording off, the menu off, and place it somewhere, and then I move the rest of the main menu away. So this is the only menu that I have to focus on. I'm just going to make a demonstration recording where I'm just pointing at different parts of this asset here. And if your menu gets tucked in, you can just grab it and move it back out again, or you can rotate your position using your joystick left and right. But I'm going to place it here, and all I'm going to do is hit record, and it's going to start capturing everything I'm saying and everything I'm doing. In fact, if I want to, I can even move this asset around, and it'll capture that movement of the asset as well. So we'll do all of that in a sample recording. So right now I'm going to hit record, and it's going to be recording me pointing at different things on this asset. So I could be giving a lecture talking about all the different anatomy features of this asset. And if I want to, I can go into edit mode during the recording, and I can actually move this asset around. So if I want to have it turned around and go over here, I can do that. So that movement will be captured in the recording as well. Actually, editing and moving assets we'll cover in a different tutorial. So if you haven't done that yet, then don't move assets around like that. That's fine. But if you have assets that are in learner mode and you're picking objects up and interacting, that will all be captured in the recording along with everything you're saying. So when I'm done recording, I'm going to hit the stop button. And now if I scroll to the very bottom of the list here, and you can just kind of grab to scroll all the way down. In fact, I'm going to pull this in. Again, I just grab that menu and press down on my joystick to pull it in here. I can see my recording right here, 3:20:21 at 9:12 a.m. That's it. So I'm going to teleport back a little bit so I can watch this. And then I'm going to press play. We can stop this now because obviously you already heard that part of the recording. Okay. So again, if I were to delete this asset and then play that recording back, the recording would be pointing into space. It wouldn't have this asset here. So it's really important to have this scene loaded when you capture or replay a 3D recording. And the way that you can do that is you can actually place a holocron for that recording into your scene. So I'm going to select that recording, and I'm going to press create holocron. So now we have this button, and I can point at it and grab it just like any other asset. If I want to move it around, I can to press my joystick to scale it up if I want to. And I can just put that here. And now if I save my scene now, I recording, save, and then verify that save, I'm going to put my recording menu back into my main menu. Now that holocron is saved into this scene. So now that association will always stay together because this recording or this holocron and this asset are saved in here at the same time. Now actually, technically what I should have done is loaded the iRecording scene before I saved it, because when I did that 3D recording and I moved that asset, I'm not sure that I left it in exactly the same position I started. So for example, like if I watch this recording played back now, I left it pretty close to where it was, but if I had turned it like completely all around and then left it, and now I place this holocron, now when my recording begins, it's going to be pointing the wrong way. You want that recording, the holocron, to be in the scene with the original scene file that the 3D recording began in. So that way all of the movement and everything will be captured and it'll be accurate to the demonstration. So that is pretty much all there is to creating a 3D recording in Acadicus Studio. A couple of other tips might be, I often like to go into learner mode when I capture a recording, and that's usually why I detach my scene recording menu, because if I detach this and go into learner mode, this menu I'll still be able to stop and start and manage my recording. Because in learner mode, there's less of a risk. Like I won't be able to accidentally grab things and flip things around. If you're in edit mode, sometimes because when I'm pointing at, I can highlight and I can actually pick things up, and I could accidentally bump things and now I can't get it back up right. If you're very good with the scene editing tools, that should be pretty manageable, but sometimes it's just an easy thing to bump that recording. And so I like to go into learner mode so I can't do that. So now we can see, I would not want to save my scene right now because that recording is now no longer aligned with that asset. See how it's pointing at a totally different area. So I don't want to save the scene right now, but if I load the scene, it will reposition. It'll get me back to that original iRecording and load. And there we have it. It's back to square one here. Helpful tips also would be, in 3D recordings, if you can be connected to the internet with an Ethernet cable directly, rather than using Wi-Fi. We generally tend to find that results in higher quality audio. If you're on a Wi-Fi connection and there's any instability whatsoever or interference with that connection, it can introduce a lot of static and popping into the audio. Generally speaking, we want to capture with Ethernet cable connected directly to the PC. Another tip would be to reduce the processing power that's happening on your computer while you're capturing a recording. Can sometimes lead to better performance or overall audio quality of the recording. So in this case, what I might do if I was really wanting to go take it to the next level, if I go to my scenes, I'm going to put my menu back in here. If I go to my scenes menu and I go to my current tab, I can turn the sun off. And with the sun off, it's going to substantially reduce the complexity of the rendering of the scene so that it's no longer it's not rendering all the shade and shadows and light from the sun. So this will actually improve my performance and make my recording potentially higher quality. And then what I would do is place the holocron, turn the sun back on, and then save the scene. And the recording will then be played back with the sun on, and it looks totally normal. So you could do things, even if you wanted to take that to the next level. You could even capture this in a completely blank room. Like right now, we're rendering this forum and the trees and everything. If we really wanted to focus on just this asset, we could be in a completely empty space. I would capture the recording, and then after that, I can actually change my environment so that I can reintroduce all this for the playback of the recording. But just in the capture stage, we want to make it as simple as possible. But it's just kind of a trial and error thing. You can try to do it. If you find that there's popping or issues with your audio, those are some of the things you could try. So that is it for 3D recording. Good luck, and if you have any issues at all, just send an email to info@acadicus.com. Thanks for watching.